I had the privilege of joining the mission team this year, and our mission team is back. There are a few members that are not with us today, and so for that reason, I want to reserve my, I don't want to say testimony, but reserve my witness for next week so that few of our members could be here to listen to it. People say that pictures are worth 1,000 words. So downstairs in our fellowship hall, we have many pictures that will tell a complete story. It's not going to be the full story, obviously, but I hope will elaborate some of the things that we did there. I do want to highlight one thing, though, that about this trip. And I don't think I'm alone when I say it, that this trip was probably the most blessed mission trip that I've been on. And I've been on quite a few of them. And so with that, I leave that to your curiosity and your inquisitiveness to go downstairs to watch the video for yourself. With that said, when we are talking about women in general, we are talking about particular feminine qualities that men do not have. And there, without comparing and contrasting between a man and a woman, when we think about a woman, we are thinking about particular qualities that women do have that men do not have. Now, that's not only a stereotype, but an overgeneralization, because men do have those qualities that women have. Matter of fact, the reverse is also true, that women have some qualities that men also have. So why do we create these comparisons and stereotypes? One, out of simplicity. Simple. Second, it's oversimplified to generalize the entire population as being one category or another, particularly male and female. But there's something else, and that is the over-amplification of male-dominated culture through the first century and onwards. It's true. Because men have been predominantly the writers of literature, writers of books, categorizing about history, men were the most literate people, women were not so. And if you were wealthy, women had the opportunity to be literate. But the poor and the peasant did not get literacy. It was largely men. And of course, largely men were politicians, largely men were wealthy, largely men were in the marketplace talking about God knows what, and a largely male-dominated social structure. That explains, at least in my opinion, 95% of why we have categories between male and female is because we men decided to categorize the differences between man and woman. Now, one of those categories has to do with exactly what a man does and what a woman does. Of course, that's been broken down recently, but it still holds true that in the back of our minds, we hold these stereotypes to be self-evident. I say self-evident because we still think that women work in the kitchen and men don't. Women do the rearing of the children and men don't. Matter of fact, in our Korean culture, women do all of the child rearing and men don't. Of course, in our generation, that has changed a little bit. Men have introduced themselves in the child rearing. The women have done some of the things that we would quote unquote say it's male dominated, such as shoveling snow or mowing the lawn. And of course, men are now cooking in the kitchen. I love cooking. Of course, maybe a generation or two or three before, men never entered the kitchen to do the cooking. But now, that has changed. So these stereotypes hold true to a certain degree, even today. What I'm not trying to do is trying to shadow the differences between male and woman, but rather if there is a sort of third category, which is both. Both. Which confuses a little bit, because when we read Proverbs 31, it is specifically talking about a woman. I say confuses because in Luke chapter 15, verse 8, it is a woman. So how can we as men, and I'm talking to the men in our congregation, how can we as men understand Luke chapter 15, verse 8 and Proverbs 31? Well, this is not for me. It's obviously an excellent wife. I'm never going to be an excellent wife. And of course it says, oh, what woman? I am not a woman, I am a man. I want you as a man to pause. Because all the women in here are probably thinking, oh, so this is talking about me. He's talking about everyone. Everyone. Male and female. Man and woman. It is talking about everyone because everyone is looking to someone to find them. Whether you're a man or woman, you want to be found. Now, that doesn't mean you're lost. It means that you want to be sought after. You want to be a person that is the apple of someone's eye, that holds their trance upon you. That's what I mean by find. Every single person, man or woman, desires that, wants that, seeks it, seeks to be found, I would say. And overzealousness in wanting to be the choice in that person. And see, that's what this story is about. Luke chapter 8. It's not about a coin. Sure, we can probably metaphorically say we're all coins in the love of God. But it's not about a coin. It's about the woman. It's about the woman. And so, wouldn't it be nice if we just forgot about the coin for a minute and just focused on the woman in this story? Because then if we can draw out this woman a little bit more, we can find the qualities that I want to be like as a man, that I may not have, or shall I say, as a man, that I don't want? Are there some men in this room that don't want some of the qualities of a woman? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I don't have to talk to many men to find out that there are some qualities of a woman that they don't want or desire. And yet, there are some qualities here that we need to point. Now, I'm going to read verse 8 again, and next Sunday I'm going to read 9 and 10, and we're going to focus on 9 and 10 next Sunday. But I want to focus on verse 8 because that is the structure, I think, that highlights Proverbs 31. Matter of fact, I'm going to go so far as to say, and I don't think it's a leap, to say that Jesus, when he was talking about Luke chapter 15, verse 8 to 10, about a woman, he was significantly thinking about Proverbs 31. So here it is. Or what woman, having 10 silver coins, if she loses one, does not light a lamp and sweep the house and seek diligently until she finds it? Now, these 10 silver coins are not nothing silver coins. They're not nickels, dimes. They're not quarters. They're not even dollars, dollar coins. These are significant coin. Drachma, matter of fact. Each of these coins are worth a day's wage. Now, I don't know how much you make in a day. It could be $100. It could be $500. It could be $1,000. But significant. Significant. However much money you make in one day, that is one coin. Now, just times that by 10, and you get a picture of how valuable these 10 silver coins are. These are not nothing coins. Like if you lose a quarter, you're like, oh, I lost a quarter. You're not gonna ramshackle your house simply to find a quarter. But if you lost a day's wage, like your paycheck didn't come in the mail, or your paycheck didn't get electronically deposited into your bank account, you'll go bonkers. I'm sure. I'll go bonkers. Now, obviously, we don't get paychecks every day, but let's just suppose once a week you get a paycheck and it doesn't arrive. That kind of anxiety is explained here. That kind of fear and nervousness, that kind of tension in which one of these coins is now missing. Now, what is it about missing coins? What do we do and what do we say when we missed something that is valuable? We personify it and give it animation, like it grew legs and walked off, or that it went somewhere. Obviously, coins don't have legs. They don't speak. They don't have animation. They're not biological. They're inanimate objects. But we give them animation to symbolize how they went missing. Symbolize even that they are missing. As if to say, where I try to find them is no longer there. So we give them a personification. We give them an animation. We give them biology. Because where I'm trying to find them, they're not there. Or it is not there, because she loses one. Now, what of the woman, though? What of us? What would we do in this situation? Now, the most logical human action over this situation, if we lose something valuable, is that we will search for it. We will search everywhere for it, especially if it's a treasured possession. The most valuable thing, you would search for it. But I want to caution you by saying there is a limit, isn't there? At one point, you will not try to find it. Now, that's not because you're of a less intellect, of a less mind. It doesn't even mean that you have less endurance or even stamina. It's just you lose all motivation. It's lost on you. The motivation is gone. The eagerness is gone. Shall I say even the endurance is gone. Endurance. That's a good word. I like endurance. Endurance, I think, summarizes a lot of the human ability and the human inability. For instance, endurance amplifies what you can do, and lack of endurance amplifies what you cannot do. Like mobility and intellect. The endurance, then, is the key. It is what we strive to have. Mental endurance, to take a test for three hours. Physical endurance, to sustain a hike over a course of 3 miles or even longer. Or if you're running a marathon or a 5K. Of course, endurance is also spiritual too. When you're praying, that requires physical endurance. When you're reading the Bible, requires physical endurance. When you're reading any book, requires some level of both physical, mental, and, shall I say, ethereal endurance. Ethereal. Like, for instance, something about the book that you enjoy or a book that you have to read for a class, a book that you have to read to take a test, to review, a book that you don't particularly like, but you have to do it. An endurance of that type. But you see, how long does this endurance go? It goes as long as you desire it to go. And then it ceases. It ceases. It stops. This woman loses one coin. Does she not light a lamp, sweep the house, and seek diligently until she finds it? Diligently. I want to turn our attention to Proverbs 31:10. This is what it says. An excellent wife who can find, she is exceedingly more precious than jewels. Exceedingly more. Proverbs 31:12. She does her husband good and not harm all the days of her life. Not all the days of his life, all the days of her life. That's incredible. That's also stunning and shocking. I want you to think about that. Not as a quality for all the women out here to be like, oh man, I gotta love my husband, future husband, for the rest of my life. Now, I don't want you to think about in terms of that. I want everyone to say and look at that and say, wow, that is unsustainable. That's what I want you to think. That's what I want you to start turning the brain and be like, wait a second, some of this stuff is unsustainable. Yes. Like the next one, 31:17. She dresses herself with strength and makes her arms strong. Now, is this physical? Is she buff? I'm a model. No, it's not. It's metaphorical language, symbolic. Is that she has a type of strength that is literally unsustainable. How do you dress yourself in strength every day? Or every moment of every day? There's not a moment to be weak. Think about this, women. There's not a moment to be weak. There's not a moment to cry. There's not a moment to be sorrowful. There's not a moment to show emotion. There's not a moment to show vulnerability. That's exactly what it says. She dresses herself with strength. There's not a moment of weakness. This is not a woman or a female quality. This is a very male quality, isn't it? It's the men who is not supposed to cry. It's the men who doesn't show emotion. It's the men who's not supposed to be this and supposed to be that. Well, guess what? She dresses herself. Now, this is the next one. Proverbs 31:19. She puts her hands to the distaff, and her hands hold the spindle. Her hands are doing two different things at the same time. I want you to think about a gear that turns like this and then turns like this. Or one gear turns like this and the other gear turns in the opposite direction. What this is saying is that whatever this is, and the Bible's not clear exactly what this is, this staff and spindle, but what is clear is that her hands are doing two different things as if they had a mind of its own. Now, you can't tell me that possibly any of one of us can sustain that over the course of a lifetime. That's clearly impossible. I have met many women who can do multifarious things, multitudinous things at the same time, but not sustaining it over a course of a lifetime. I know many people who can think many thoughts at the same time, but not sustain that over a course of a lifetime. Why? Because, ladies and gentlemen, we get old. And when you get old, things slow down in terms of mental faculty and physical endurance. This woman has such endurance as if she stays young all the days of her life. Doesn't that struck you as wild? It should. What's the age in which you feel like, qualitatively speaking, is the best age for mental endurance, mental capacity, intellect, all that stuff? What, 25, 26, 27, 30-ish, 35? I don't know. You think about it. You think about that age. And think about that could be the height of your powers. And then after that age is just a slow decline. Think about how you can sustain that ability over the course. Think about that. Think about it. It's impossible. This excellent wife, whoever she is not talking about you or me. It can't. It's impossible. This woman is not out there. If you took from this sermon and you're like, you know what, I got to find her. I got to find this woman. I got to find this woman in Proverbs 31. I just got to find her. Guess what? You're not going to find her. She doesn't exist. At least she doesn't exist in this biological, physical, this side of eternity world. But there is a person who does exist, who is every quality that she is, except she is a man, and he is Jesus. You see, when we think about Jesus, what do we think about when we think about Jesus? He's a man, he's a carpenter, so he must be strong. Well, yeah, he is. He is strong. But that doesn't exactly illuminate who Jesus is, does it? That's just a hyperbole, a stereotype. When we get into the mind of Jesus and we know how he moves and how he talks and how he interacted with people, who did he interact with? The lowliest of people. The lowliest of people. He didn't go to the highest rungs, the upper crust of society. He went to the outer rung. Not even to the bottom rung. You would say the bottom rung? No. Not even the bottom rung. These people were outcasts. They were not even part of the society. That's where Jesus went. Lepers and disabled people and prostitutes. People that are long forgotten. People that, other people would not care about. People that you would not care about. People that you would not even think about. That's where Jesus went to. Now, I want you to take that into your mind and think about this for a moment. Who is it the only one that cares about the person that other people do not care about? You know who? Their mom and their dad. Right? Their mom and their dad. They're the only two people that will care about what other people will consider trash. Mom and dad doesn't care that their child is trash. They care that their child is their child. Because they made them, gave birth to them, raised them, reared them. And that is why it's so hurtful and darn near depressing when children as young as 5 cannot think about their father because their father is long gone. well, that was Nicaragua. I remember we're doing VBS, and as we were preaching, and I was taking photographs of all these children, and I swear I have never seen so many young girls cry when we spoke about the loss of their children, their mother and their father. It was real. It was real. It impacted them because it was real. It hit them. One girl I remember, it's downstairs. I'm not going to show you which of the girl it is. I think the members of the mission team know. So I'm not going to tell you. Maybe you can pick it out yourself. There was one girl that I took a picture of. It was as if someone punched her in the gut when Sangya talked about losing their father. Like it was so visceral. Like she had a gut reaction. And at first I was like, is she in pain? And it dawned on me. She lost her father. There was one boy on the ground, and he would not get up. So I went over to the boy, thinking that the boy was hurt. Why can't this boy get up? So I came over to him. His friends were like telling him, try to get up. He wouldn't get up. He wouldn't get up. And then when Sangyak said, Father, the word was like a gut punch, and he turned into this angry look. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at Sangyak. He's also in the photograph downstairs. When children as young as 5 lose a mother or lose a father, or both, it's as if a part of them is ripped. Pieces of them are torn apart. It's not fair. See, if I was God, if I could play God for about 5 seconds, I would wait until they're 12, 13, 14, 15 years old to do something like that, to tear their parents away from them. But no. See, this is the decrepit state of human nature, that parents would leave their children to fend for themselves, to strive for themselves, to model for themselves, to do things for themselves. This can't be about biological woman. This has to be something more. See, I want it to be something more. I look at that and I say to myself, self, that has to be more than this, than that. I can't be the replacement dad. Every missionary team that goes into them and confronts them can't be the surrogate father every time. Can you imagine? They'd be connected to them and then taken away every time a missionary comes and then leaves. It would be a reminder that parents come and go, come and go and come and go. No, it can't be that. It must not be that. If that was that, then the gospel that we have and the gospel that we preach is bogus. It's fake, and it's forgery. It has to be something more eternal, more powerful than this biological thing. It has to speak about something more powerful than this biological thing. And it is. It is. I'm telling you, it is. Because the woman in Luke chapter 15, verse 8, and in Proverbs 31, is the man Jesus Christ. He's talking about Jesus Christ, the personification, the literal, physical person, being of wisdom. He is wisdom in a man, full of wisdom, embodying all
all that is wisdom by not being so much smart and mature in mind, but actually doing it. What makes wisdom hard is not that you're wise in your mind so that you're filled with intellect. It's that this mind can do and process your hands to do whatever it is that you want. That's wisdom. That's true wisdom. True wisdom is not that you're so smart because you have so much books inside your head. It's because you can take that book learning and try to process it with your hands. We humans can't do that 100% of the time. No matter how much book learning that we have, that we call it wisdom here, does not necessarily translate here. God does. The person of Jesus Christ. Everything he did, everything he did, everything he said was 100% done. Period. End of story. That means in Proverbs 31:19, she puts her hands to the distaff and her hands hold the spindle, doing two things at once, speaking the truth with love and then making the heavens fall with bread. Or walking on water and getting into the boat and then calming the wind so that it dies. Or rebuking the Pharisees and at the same time healing the leper. Going to the cross and staying there at the same time. Going to the cross and then staying there. Now, what's so hard about that? The hardest part, I think, is staying there, not going there. Because Jesus did not have to stay there. He did not have to die, and he did not have to be in agonizing torment, to be torn away from his Father. He did. For a brief moment in time in human history, he took on all the pain and the torment and the torture and the agonizing sense of doom of every child who have lost a father, mother, or both in this person. So that when I took a picture of that girl who, as if she got a gut punch, I said, Jesus died for that. Jesus literally died for that. I could see that with my own eyes, Jesus died for that. And then when that boy was just huddled down and could not get up, I said, Jesus died for him. That. Literally, Jesus knows exactly how he feels. And when the pregnant woman last year, and I said to myself, this woman is just too young to be pregnant. So I said to myself last year, how is it that she's pregnant and will survive? And this year, took a same picture, only this time she's holding her baby, but not without consequences. She had a C-section. The doctors told her that either the child or the mother will live. The child or the mother will live. And I said to myself, God. But they both survived. And I said to myself, self, does this make any sense to you that they live in this and that she lives? Do you know how many countless people that I know who use the best medical facilities that the Western world can have do not have the same kind of miracle? And yet, she has it. It took strength beyond compare just not to cry and weep in front of her, because I don't think that's what she wanted us to do. But that's the Jesus who can do two things at once. That's the Jesus who can do multitudinous things at once by the power of the Holy Spirit that he has given to us. I don't think we talk enough about the Holy Spirit, or at least what he does, because what he does is more than just what he does for me. What he does is that if one of us is lost, he lights the lamp, sweeps the house, and is diligent until it is found. Period. End of story. There is no endurance. There's nothing to endure. It's not that they have no storage of endurance or no power or stamina. It's that when eternity seeks to find you, it is simply, there is no endurance. There is no motivation. Because when eternity seeks to find you, it is. That is the quality and the nature of eternity. Is that it is. It simply is. Their nature is to search. Their nature is to find. Our nature is not to find. I'm sorry if you thought it was. Our nature is not to seek. That is not our nature. And because it is not our nature, we need endurance to seek it, and we need endurance to find it. But for eternity, endurance is their nature, to find and to search, because that is what they do. Finding and searching is what they do. When the mission team went to Nicaragua, we did not go to find and to search and to seek. We didn't. Or at least I didn't. And I think I'm in accord here when I can say that the entire mission team did not go with the mission to seek and to search and to find. Who is it what we were supposed to seek and to search and to find? Who? Whom? Is there a person? A thing? And even if we were going to seek and to search and to find, what was it? And would it be fulfilled? You see, isn't that the biggest difference between eternity and us? Is that even if we were seeking and searching and finding, will we ever fulfill that? No. All we did was do. That's it. All we did was do. God called us to do, and we did. The seeking and the searching and the finding was the Holy Spirit. He told us to do. We did. He seeked, searched, and found, and drew them out for us to see, so that we would be blessed. You know what's the hardest part? The seeking, the searching, and the finding, not the doing. And yet, we waste our energy and our endurance in the doing. Praise be the God in who is diligent in the seeking and the searching and the finding. Diligently. If he were not so, none of us would be found. None of us. No matter how much doing that man can do, or a woman, if God was not seeking, searching, and finding so diligently, there would be none who would be found. Thanks be to God, through the power of His Son, in the person, in the Spirit of the Holy Spirit, that empowers us to do, so that in our doing there are souls who are found. We're going to partake in the communion now. I want to read the last 3 verses of the Proverbs. As you pray, I want you to repeat these words with me, the last 3 verses. And I want you to hold them in your heart, that this is speaking of Jesus. Not speaking of you. It's not speaking of me. It's speaking of Jesus. Jesus, the King of glory, the Son of God. Yes, He's a man. And yes, He has male attributes. Yet, He is all the woman that you and I will ever be in our lifetime, pertaining to the qualities and the nature of a woman. Jesus fulfills. Many women have done excellently, but you, O Christ, surpass them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Now may this be the prayer of your hearts to the person of Jesus. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her works be praised in the gates. As you come forward, I want you to pray to the works of Him who have led you to come before the table. It is His work that you are His fruit. And all of His fruit sing gloriously. So with that, I say this admonition always as we do this. Whoever therefore eats bread and drinks the cup of the Lord in an unworthy manner be guilty concerning the body and blood of Jesus. Let a person examine himself then, and so eat of the bread and drink of the cup. For anyone who eats and drinks without discerning the body eats and drinks judgment on himself. So people of God, you are invited to the table. Come and eat thankfully. You are welcome. But if you are feeling miserable, overwhelming in sin, then come to the cross before you come to the table. Present your works of unrighteousness, or even your works of righteousness, before the cross, and let Him cleanse you. Then approach the table. If you feel that you still need to abstain, then abstain. But if you feel that you can come and approach, then approach freely, without reservation.